What would Jesus do? It's 2010 and we're in a whole new reality now. It's all about where we at today as a whole world, not as a neighborhood or community or race. Earlier I spoke about the issue that now has come to become the big conflict for mankind as itself. Sexuality. In studying all the things and the human instincts and characteristics and talents and powers that a human actually can possibly possess, the one thing that all humans somewhere or another tend to end up with that has less of a instruction, if not explanation, as to why God even allowed us to have that instinct itself, sex itself, that sexual nature, and how it's tied into even our very emotions. But yet and still we have, because of our cultural structures and societies, in our races and geographical locations, we've all had to at least just deal with the basics, and now the basics have gotten boring and the new world is in need of advanced thinking. And in order for us to actually be able to tolerate that and deal with that, I think that the big obstacle that we need to master more than anything else is sexuality. And therefore I actually, use the keychain phrase of what would Jesus do? Just because, well, it didn't work the first time with the Crusades in history, so I'm going to play with it now in this new world. So, may I take your order? Oh, it's sexuality. Hi, I'm Alpha Master Pimp, active dominant sadist in the bondage, discipline, sadomasoch lifestyle that seems to have probably existed in some kind of mentality for as long as we can actually, define or even, image the higher powers who, on their off time of ruling the worlds, actually indulge into a higher, more accelerated indulgence of the pleasures of not just the flesh, but of the darker mindset. And therein lies that kind of thing. Now, I spoke about how religion itself has been basically corrupted because no one can actually excuse most of our religious providers, because they've all come up deviant, sexually deviant, to the point where you can't honestly tell someone something divine and then turn back around and be doing some shit that you tell everyone else is a sin, and not be able to explain to me why you can and we can't. And we're all now becoming more intelligent, but we're not becoming more aware. We're not really honestly we're not intelligent. I mean, the word ignorance is a very powerful word. Even in a dictionary, it tells you that just because you hear the word humans on an instinct, just don't like hearing them being called that word. And yes, you are ignorant. Your sexuality is what makes you ignorant. Why? Because you can't walk with it on your shoulder or on your back or as a badge or as whom you are in life, no matter where you are right now, and it's not your fault. It's the "what would Jesus do" syndrome. Now, just because the Pope is the Pope don't mean that, he might not have fallen down once. I mean, we find a whole lot of people early in their devotion to spirituality having to excuse themselves and going, well, God forgave me after I did it, apparently, and now you caught me and you're mad because I can't tell you why it happened. And that's the truth, because spirituality and deviancy haven't been allowed to be explained since Well, Christianity even start, publicizing Sodom and Gomorrah, because that's the one place that everybody in the the whole religion can honestly say that that was one place that all the people that God killed that point in time all deserved to die. That's some ignorant shit. When you think about it, I mean, not in a bad way, and I'm not calling God ignorant, I'm calling you ignorant. Because, what's the difference between the people in Sodom and Gomorrah then and us now? Because there's no longer any room for us to run from that while he tears that shit up, unless we all decide to take a spaceship out of here. And the bottom line to that whole imagery is sexuality. It wasn't just the mere fact that these people were sexual perversions. They weren't just perverts. These motherfuckers was malicious. These motherfuckers didn't have no home training. They were so bad at it. It ran so rampant that it was like the moment in time that whoever the creator was, if you call him God, probably actually sat back and said, I think I done fucked up with this one because these motherfuckers just don't get it. So I'm going to tear this up. And who was that? Lot or Saul or Solomon or whoever it was that he said, all right, get up and go. Okay, you can get your family if you want to, but, I don't give a fuck about them. I need for you Lot. Okay. And they end up turning the salt, and the motherfucker end up going out and having a whole new book of doggone religious things talked about him, and nobody wants to remember the fact that he was saved from perversions, only to end up being one of the happiest kings and perverts, and his kingdom loved him, and they didn't trip about the fact that he had a rack of wives and slaves and some more things going on, and the dude just couldn't quit smiling. He couldn't keep saying, you know what, dang man, God is, when he hook you up, he hook you up. Even though I'm sure there was many a day that Lot actually sat back on his kingdom and found no words to be able to express to them how lucky they are to actually have more freedom, but somehow or another not be as far off to the left enough that God is going to kill them too. Because I learned my lesson because God told me I did. Well, that's where we're at now. Sexuality. What would Jesus do? Now, I keep bringing up this Jesus dude because that's the only one that everybody keeps saying they know absolutely beyond a shadow of doubt that he at least at the point of his death died a virgin. And I'll believe that too, but did he die humanly without the memory of a perversion? Was that something that he felt the need to die for a sin? And what about this Mary chick, man? Now in the religion, there's some people out there that have actually said that there's a book that Mary wrote too. Because just like there was just like Billy Preston was the other Beatle, Mary apparently was the 13th apostle or something. And people don't want to hear that, but why can't we actually play with the image of a woman actually being just as doggone important and understanding and decent as a person in our history too? And therefore I digress back to what would Jesus do? Now, out of all of this that went down, I'm still sitting around here going, the reason why I keep playing this whole Jesus thing to the left into the spirituality and then throwing in the sexuality thing is because for some reason the key that Jesus kept saying is that it's not that I really don't wanna. I got the best piece in town from, what they called Mary per se, but he didn't. And that probably was some portion of what also became some of his upper metaphysical, spiritual, mental powers that he was able to use because he wasn't actually playing with some other shit that might actually throw you for a loop. Like sex. No matter who it's with. Now, the problem here is not sex, it's sexuality, because people can't tell the difference. You can have a sexual thought about somebody and all of a sudden become guilty about it. But you can honestly sit back and have some sex that after you've had it, because it was so good, you don't want to be wrong. But what would Jesus do? Why was Jesus so much more of an image for not doing it than all of us are for not understanding that we can't even talk about it?